Happy Mother's Day. So today we're going to try and just keep the kids in here to give, because a lot of our mothers are the ones who are doing kids' church. So moms, you want to just hang out in here? That's totally cool. And kids, you're going to hang out in here too. So that's just what's going to happen. It's all good. But here's the thing. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all moms, grandmoms, stepmoms, foster moms, spiritual moms, aunties who act like moms, and every woman who has ever found themselves, holding a child while doing the laundry, talking on the phone, making something to eat, all of the fun things that you do, all the while answering those deep spiritual questions like, why can't my doggy go to heaven? Right? But we just want to say Happy Mother's Day to you all, and today is a day that we pretend that you got to sleep in, that we pretend that your family didn't fight on the way to church, right? That we pretend that, everything is kind of rosy, even though we don't fully think that that's true. And, we also pretend that, you don't actively live in a war zone. Because if your house is anything like mine, you actively live in a war zone, right? Like, we are. It's already happening right here, right? So... But under the laughter that we're having today, there is something holy, there's something sacred in motherhood. And really, motherhood is no joke, is it? In fact, being a mom isn't easy. I think we should all get shirts actually that say "Mom ain't easy," right? I think that would be, we might have to do that, right? I think we might have to get some shirts. I think that would be good. Anybody who makes shirts, you should probably get on that. I think it could be a huge hit, right? But if we're honest, it's true though. Being a mom isn't easy. It's messy, it's sacred, it's loud. It involves bodily fluids and emotional whiplash. It is a roller coaster. And I think we're all aware of that. But sometimes we kind of forget, don't we? We forget that motherhood isn't this Hallmark card. It isn't breakfast in bed. It's dishes, it's discipline. It's desperately Googling how to get slime out of the rug. Right? We've all been there. That's why you laugh, right? Because you've done that. I've had to do that. Bethany's had to do this. Like, how do you get this out? Right? All those crazy moments, if we're honest with ourselves, like, that is what it is. It is this chaos that can often be there. But in that chaos, there is this goodness and this holiness that mothers bring. In Genesis 1, it says that the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, Mom? That's just before breakfast, right? Like, that's early. But the reason why I bring this up is, what did God do with that chaos? He made something wonderful. He made something beautiful. And I think this is what mothers really do. In the chaos of everything that's going on in their lives, they seem to make something beautiful, something good, something wholesome, something wonderful. And I was surprised, like growing up, me and my brothers, there's 3 years between all of us. So my oldest brother is 3 years older than me. My middle brother is 2 years older than me. And then, of course, there's me. And then, so there was 3 of us within a very quick range. And we were busy, if you can imagine that. Right? We were busy. And we created all sorts of chaos. But in all of that chaos, my mom would always bring about that comfort and that goodness. She'd somehow find ways to do laundry and make meals and take us to church and do all of these things that, are unbelievable. I was just talking to my mom this weekend because I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm going to talk about you. I usually give my mom a heads up. So I say, don't watch the sermon this week because I'm going to talk about you. Goes a long way, right? But I said, hey, I'm going to talk about you. But it was also giving me an opportunity, like, I'm going to wish you an early Happy Mother's Day. Yes, I'm still going to talk to my mom later today. But I was like, I want to wish you an early Happy Mother's Day. But I also want to just thank you. Because I think in all of that stuff, and especially as we get older, and it's funny, I was having this conversation with Elfie and Judy just before church. It's like, it's funny how I get older and I say, man, my mom was right. Right? The older you get, you start to realize, and then you start finding yourself saying the same things that your parents said. That's when it gets truly scary. Right? But it's amazing, the investment, and here's the thing, you may not think that your kids are catching everything that you say, and sometimes you may be repeating those things over and over and over again, and who knows what you just said, we're just not even going to go there.
But the point of the matter is that they catch more than you think. And it helps grow them into the people that they're going to be. And moms, every single day you take chaos and you make it into comfort. You take ordinary moments and you make them sacred, and you put God into those moments as well. If it wasn't for my mother, I wouldn't be in church today. My mom took us to church every single Sunday growing up. And nothing against my dad. My dad is a wonderful man, and I love my dad. But he didn't really want much to do with church when we were younger, and he worked a lot as well, and it just wasn't a possibility. So my mom would be the one that would take us. My mom would be the one that would pray with us. My mom was the one who opened up the Bible. So without my mother, even in and amongst all of her flaws and issues, she knew I was going to say this too. My mom knows she's not perfect. We know all moms aren't perfect, but you don't have to be. And I think there's sometimes that crazy thought that, I have to be perfect. No, you don't. Look how I turned. No, never mind. Don't even go there. Let's pretend I didn't say that. That may backfire on me, especially with these two sitting over here. So we're just gonna move on from that. But here's the thing, and I said this in the video as well, that God designed motherhood with his own comfort in mind. Right? We saw this in the passage in Isaiah, and I want to share that passage with you actually once again. It says this, "As one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem." Notice how God, speaking through the prophet Isaiah, says, like someone, like a mother who comforts, he will comfort in the same way. You ever notice that mothers are like the pinnacle of comfort? I don't know about you, but if I needed comfort, I wasn't going to my dad, and I think my kids would say the same. If they want a kick in the butt, you go to dad. If you want comfort, you go to mom. If you want you're okay, get up, continue on, go to dad. If you want hey, how can I help you? Oh, are you okay? Go to mom, right? The moms are the comfort, right? That's totally how it works. And this is why when God is speaking through the prophet Isaiah, he gives them this way to say, my heart of comfort. He reminds them that it's like the comfort of a mom. And that God's comfort is indwelling in you as moms and comes out through you as moms. And it is sure something that we appreciate. From the beginning, mothers have brought forth God's nurturing heart, God's comforting heart. It is ingrained within them, and of course they are created in his image, and this part of it we definitely see in our mothers. It's also interesting that when God chose someone to carry a savior, it wasn't some sort of high and lofty person, it wasn't a queen, it wasn't a prophet, it wasn't a priest, it wasn't any of those things. He picked Mary, a teenage girl from Nazareth. And why did he do that? Well, let's look at Luke 1:30-31. He says, "And the angel said to her, 'Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus.'" Now this seems a little bit crazy when you look at this. What an honor, what a responsibility for Mary, this young woman who is now going to carry the Savior of the world. And what was Mary's response? Of course, after she asked, how is this going to happen? Because she was a virgin, but we go a little bit further. And it says this, "And Mary said, 'Behold, I am the servant of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word.' And the angel departed from her." It's interesting that when we look at her response is just yes to God. It's yes to raising the children. It's yes to sacrifice. It's yes to prayer and patience. And my hope would be that as mothers, you would echo this faithfulness. And of course, it's not a call to be perfect, but it is a call to persistently chase after being faithful to God. Because I think we can get so embedded in this that we think everything has to be perfect, but that's not the way it is. In fact, when we look at moms of the Bible, we start to realize that they definitely were not perfect at all. Let me give you a few of them. If you remember Sarah, right? What did Sarah do when she was told she was finally going to become a mom? Anybody remember? She laughed. Who did she laugh at? She laughed at God. She's like, good one, God, that's a funny joke. That's a good one. And then in all of that, we have Hagar. Right? What happens with Hagar? Well, Sarah's not overly nice to Hagar, and Hagar decides she's going to run away. But as she runs away, of course, she's met in the desert, and she's sent back to serve and to love, and she meets God in all of this, and she comes back and she's faithful, and she becomes a faithful servant, right? And she's blessed because of that. But was she perfect? No. She runs away, so Sarah laughs. Hagar runs away. Rebecca, well, what did she do? Well, she played favorites with her sons and caused the family split. That's fun, right? Again, not perfect, but again, someone who did love God and chased after God. But again, you see it. What about Naomi? Well, Naomi lost everything, but who did she become the grandmother of? Well, King David. And then you have Mary, who we just talked about. You ever gone to the grocery store and misplaced your child? You don't have to put your hand up for that one, right? My middle brother Nick, his favorite thing to do, and Jeremiah is terrible for this too, we would go to clothing stores, and Nick would go into, you know how they used to have the big round circular ones? Nick would go inside of those, and he would disappear. And my mom would look for him for a very long time, and finally, and he wouldn't answer, Nick, he'd just be like, right? And finally you'd find him, and it could be 10, 15 minutes. I've had it too where my kids are like, hey, can I go look at the, toys? Sure, you can look at the toys, I got a bit of shopping. And all of a sudden I can't find them. It's even happened in the Co-op. I mean, the Co-op's not even that big, but they somehow find a way to disappear. Right? Yeah. I could see why they would lose you, but that's something else there. How long did Mary lose Jesus for? 3 days. You think losing your kid in the superstore for 15 minutes is bad? Mary lost Jesus for 3 days. 3 days. So you're doing okay. You're doing okay. Right? But all of this to say that they were flawed, they were overwhelmed at times, they weren't perfect. But they did persistently still chase after God and do their best to say yes to God. And that is really the ask. That we wouldn't be perfect, but that we would be persistent. We know you're not perfect. And I know a lot of us wish that we could be, but you're not. And then also you have to look at how Timothy's grandma, right? I just talked about how my mom was a big part of my faith story. Well, let's look at what happens with Timothy. 2 Timothy 1:5. I am reminded of your sincere faith, a faith that dwelt first in your grandmother, Lois, and your mother, Eunice, or if you're Spanish, Eunice. And now I am sure dwells in you as well. Look where that started. The grandma, the mom, passing it down to her child, who becomes the mom of Timothy, who passes it down to her child. These are people that just practice persistent faith. And you can see where it goes. And here's the thing, my grandmother, so my mom's mom, is also a wonderful, godly lady. She's amazing. I love my grandma, both my grandpa and grandma, all those sayings that I keep talking about that my grandpa said, it's my grandpa right on my mom's side. I have like 100 of those sayings in my head, and now I say them, and now my kids are starting to say them. It's funny how that happens, right? But yet, here we see that faith passed down from the grandmother to the mother and passed down to Timothy, and now Timothy is dwelling in that same faith. Persistent faith pays off. We're not talking, again, about perfect. We know that these two ladies weren't perfect either, but persistent faith does pay off. And Timothy's faith, it didn't begin in seminary, did it? It began at home. It began at him sitting at the feet of his mother and his grandmother and hearing from them and seeing how they lived out their faith. Not a perfect faith, of course, but planting seeds and watering those seeds and growing those seeds so that these people, in this story, of course, Timothy would be someone who would also grow and serve God. And really, that's what motherhood is about. In fact, that's what parenting is about, planting and watering seeds and allowing God to grow in them. And that's what we see here. Now, next we're going to hit Proverbs, and of course when we get to Proverbs 31, everyone thinks, well, you talk about perfect mothers, Proverbs 31 is the perfect mother. I want you to just forget about that for a second, but we are going to go into Proverbs 31, and we're going to look at it in a little bit of a different light. This is a famous passage, of course, and it can be daunting, but we're going to focus on what it is saying and not what it's not saying. So let's dive into it. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. I mean, I don't think most mothers have time for the bread of idleness because life is crazy and busy. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her too. I know today, husbands, you can say that, your wife is not your mother, which she's not, but her husband also praises her. Husbands, praise the mother of your children. They need it. Praise the mother of your children. They're often in the trenches. They're doing hard work. They're doing some amazing stuff. They're that comfort, that graciousness, that tenderheartedness that your kids so desperately need. Right? I know that my kids need Bethany because, let's just say, I'm not the softest person on the planet. Right? I believe when Pastor Josh came here, he may have made a joke about that too, which I had to promptly go and, Anyways, moving on. Back to mothers, and just, praise the mother of your children. Don't be like, well, you're not my mother, so today's not about you. Yes, it is. It is. It's about them. They're the mother of your children. Praise them. Right? Anyways, moving on. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Notice how it says all of these things, but the most important thing is in verse 30 here. And all of those things come out of this. And again, this woman that it's talking about, this mother, this wife, isn't perfect. Don't hear this wrong. But the big thing that is coming is saying, charm is deceitful, beauty is vain. We all know beauty fades, right? Alfie had a bit of a fall. Sorry, Alfie, it happens. He bruised, apparently, his back. His wife told him that he has a bruise. He said he didn't know because he wasn't going to look in the mirror. And I said, yeah, I'm the same. Mirrors don't like me and I don't like them. Right? So beauty is vain. Beauty fades. Right? Not as handsome as I once was. Right? It just doesn't happen anymore. We were also joking about scales, and I said I try and stay away from those now too. Which makes sense. But all that stuff fades away. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. This is where it all comes down to. He says all of that stuff is wrapped up in one thing, is a woman who fears the Lord, a woman who persistently is faithful and wants to go after the Lord. This is what it's talking about. All those other stuff we know that you're doing, right? And we know how crazy life can be. And being idle is a pretty difficult thing, but this is the most important thing. Her strength is spiritual, her wisdom is divine, and her reward is that she will reap what she sows. Our reward is seeing your children grow up to do good, to love the Lord. And no, I'm not saying that always happens. I know for some of you, there's still some prodigals that you're wishing would come back and that would follow the Lord. I get that. But generally speaking, we will reap the benefits of this. That's why Galatians 6:9 says this, and let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. And I think this is true. And I know there's times where we definitely feel like giving up. And I know mothers, there's times where you feel like giving up. And I know for sure with me and my brothers, I can guarantee you that my mother felt like giving up. There was definitely those moments. There's those moments where I remember my mom just looking at me and going like, why? Like, why? And I don't even know the answer to that question. It felt like a good idea at the time. Right? We had a moment in our household like that last night where I was like, why? Like, how does this even happen? Sometimes you just don't know, but let's not grow weary in doing good. And moms, you may sometimes feel weary. You've got a lot on your plate, you've got a lot going on, but I just want you to know that God sees you, and every moment of love, connection, prayer, patience is being used by Him. You don't labor in vain. I just want you to know that. You're not laboring in vain. And I want you to know that when you feel like you're not enough, let's speak to some of the moms who feel like they're failing. And I know this can often be a thing, and I know talking with my mom, she felt like that, and I think most moms, you've had these moments where you just feel like you're failing, you feel like you're not enough, you feel like you're not measuring up, right? For some of you who are single moms who are doing double duty, some of you who are moms of prodigals who are just talking about who you're daily praying because you just want your child to follow the Lord. Some of you who may be foster or stepmoms, you're navigating this complex love. The women, of course, who long to be mothers but carry silent grief. And of course, there's the spiritual moms. Those who may not have their own children, but they're still mentoring and teaching and loving other people's children just like they were your own. And you may all come to this place where you feel like, I don't feel like I'm enough. I feel like I'm failing. For all of you, I want to share a couple verses. First one is Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, the very present help in trouble. And this can seem trite, but God is journeying with you. He wants to carry your burdens, and that's what we see next. Right? In Matthew 11:28, come to me all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. There's rest to be found in Christ. And I mean, not only do you labor, but I mean, you are the ones who are in labor. So I mean, there's a lot going on there. Right? But moms, your strength doesn't come from yourself. And I think that's the point of these two verses as well, is that sometimes you feel like if I just, push through and I muster up and I just keep going, that I'll make it and I'll get it done. And your strength doesn't come from that, though. And your strength doesn't come from caffeine, although that helps. Right? Some of you may have had 8 cups of coffee by the time breakfast happens because your house is crazy busy and a lot going on, but it doesn't come from that either, right? But it comes from the Spirit of God that strengthens you. It comes from God, who is your refuge, who is your strength. It comes from Christ, who gives you rest. It doesn't come from anything that you can muster up. But the Spirit strengthens you to love, lead, and live like Jesus in the middle of your busy schedules. Your worth is not measured by your to-do list. And I know some of you moms, your to-do list is long, right? It's very long. You got a lot going on. You got kids running here, there, everywhere, doing a whole bunch of different things. But it's not measured by your to-do list. It's measured by God's love for you. You are enough not because you do everything perfectly, but because you belong to the perfect one. You need to understand that. Your measure of worth is not based on you doing everything perfectly. It's based on the fact that you belong to the one who is perfect. I want that to settle in. So when your to-do list isn't done, remember that is not your identity. So today, let's celebrate. Every mom who has ever cried in the minivan on their way through the drive-thru, you know who you are, when the order just doesn't quite go right, and that is the last thing that breaks the camel's back, right? Or has washed the same load of laundry 3 times because you forgot it was there. Right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Right? It happens. Sometimes it just needs to be extra clean. Or maybe those who have prayed over a child, worried about a child, have lost a child, and have loved their children so fiercely that it even makes them hurt and ache, especially when they see them go the wrong direction. You are doing God's work. And I want you to know that you are seen, you're appreciated, and you're loved. by this church, by your family, and most of all, by Christ. And I want the words of Jesus to sink into you, well, sort of. But I want you to know this. That Jesus sees you, and I think he would like to say to you, well done, good and faithful mom. I hope that's not sacrilege. Or you could alter to what it actually says to well done, good and faithful servant. Because you are God's servant, and you're doing God's work. And God is working in and through you. And you're persistently chasing him. And I know it's not going to be perfect, and I know you can feel like, things are not enough and that you're failing, but God is working in and through you. He is doing wonderful things in you. He's working in your kids through you as well. And I want you to know that you're seen and you are doing God's work, and I want you to be blessed. So today, I want us all to rise up. If you are by the woman who mothered you, I want you to bless her. Just lay your hand on and say, bless you, mother. If you are by the mother of your children, I want you to lay a hand on them and say, I bless you. Thank you for being the mother of my children. And I want you to say, I thank God for you, mom, all of you moms. Do that now. I'm just going to go to my wife quick. Bless you, mother of my children. I love you. All right, and you can remain standing. I'll invite the worship team on up, and we will close with a song here. So worship team, if you could come on up, please.